Yes, yes. Call the meeting to order. The first point on the agenda is any public comments. Is there anyone with a public comment? Okay, before we get started, I would like to thank everybody for coming to the meeting. I hope you find it interesting and useful. We'll proceed now to the reports. The first one is a prom presentation.
I'll make this.
There you go.
Touch this door, go back to start showing. It's not. So,
Can I have you first to introduce yourself, please?
okay, sorry. I am Hayden, you're all right, Bryson. I am the senior class president for this year. This is Bryson Becker, he is the junior class president. And here, we're just here to talk about prom, just a little bit that we have. We'll probably get more as time goes on, it's just a general overview of how the day will go. So this year, prom is Saturday, June 6th. The event will be 7 to 11 p.m. at Settles Hill Banquet and Events. This is in Altamont, New York, which is just near Waynesburg. The day of prom, similar to last year, a letter will be sent out that students will have to fill out and return about prom, just overview and signatures. Today, the students will meet at about 5 o'clock here at the school. And they'll be on a meeting, like some pictures, and the stuff happens at school. We'll walk with this auditorium, pretty cool. And then the buses will depart around 6 o'clock. And the travel time is expected to be about 1 hour. And the schedule ensures it's just a nice, smooth, organized way of the event.
So some of the expenses for the prom, and the breakdown of it. So the cost per person is about $57. That's factored to be on the high side. And the breakdown of that, so the cost for the venue and the food together is about $47. The meal is about $34 plus 15% gratuity and 20% administrative fee, and that factors in sales tax. Cost of decorations and favors, those are about $3. We have some older things that we can reuse and repurpose. Cost of the DJ, that's about $7 per person. The cost of transportation, we figured that would be about $11.50, which is not factored into our total. And our estimated attendees is about 150 people. Any extra costs will come out of our class funds.
So this is the venue of Settles Hill. This venue is typically reserved for like weddings or other private events. It's commonly weddings. So here, a lot of their pictures online are for a wedding. So this is just the entryway to the front. It's nice lit. Here, this is typically where they'll hold and have the food catered. It's not a picture spot. See, it's like a wedding decoration. It's actually doesn't have wedding decoration much. This is it, like lit for night event. And then this is just typically for the day. It's has a bunch of nice tables, has a nice empty space. It's a large room. So people in the place to sit, people can feel free to meet.
You might be wondering why off-campus was run. So an off-campus event or venue allows us to provide meals, amenities, and high-quality prom experience for the students. And it's in one dedicated central space. Keeping all attendees together at all times ensures that students are accounted for and safe at all times. We kindly would like to ask if the board or the school would provide transportation via school buses and accompanied drivers. That would save our class a lot of funds. Students arriving in limousine, they do so, but the limo must be between the buses. And that also ensures the safety of the students and that they're accounted for when they get there. Settles Hill offers a beautiful space and safe layout, and the atmosphere needed to help create a memorable prom and night for all students that attend. And no student may drive themselves, and that also ensures that they're there.
That is what we have. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. I would entertain a motion for the school to subsidize the buses for the transportation to the prom.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, congratulations and have a wonderful event.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next point on the agenda is the student representative report, and I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Xavier to the school board, and that we're very much looking forward to your contributions. And if you have anything, you don't have to, but if there's anything you'd like to talk about why you wanted to serve and what you hope to accomplish, we go to hear it, but don't feel like you have to. So that's up to you. With that, just go ahead with the report.
I'm very excited to be here. Sorry for missing the first two meetings. Had soccer games on both days. Yeah, our team was in a bit of a situation with like one or two subs, sometimes done. So couldn't be here, but very glad to be here.
We're very glad to see you.
Would you like me to stay?
Oh, go ahead.
Here? Okay, so the first significant thing I'd like to talk about that we did over since last meeting was
Can you speak a little bit louder if you could?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So in the month of the month of October was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So mid-October, Ms. Countryman and her students decided to start an initiative to spread awareness and support for our community members who have dealt with breast cancer. And there are a few throughout the different buildings in the school. So initially, we began by wearing pink every Thursday in support. But as the month progressed, students in Ms. Countryman became more ambitious and began raising money for breast cancer-related charities, as well as organizing an event on the last Thursday of October, where the entire school would dress in pink and stand in the formation of a ribbon, which was shown on the news the following morning. Participation was unprecedented, and a strong sense of community was built throughout the month. I'd say about 90 to 95% of students had some sort of pink or any, sort of representation on that final day when the news came in, which was very impressive. And we held a spirit day as well, like a spirit week as well, with a lot of participation. And you could see that, it was meaningful to the kids and teachers. So it was special. It was the first time we did this. So second is the debate club. So with the initiative of students interested in contemporary politics and social issues, a debate club has been created this year. So far, meetings have taken place once a week during lunch in Mr. Patino's office. However, numbers have increased enough that the club might just outgrow the space. The club is really grateful to have members ranging from all areas of the political spectrum. So it hasn't just been a total echo chamber. Every topic that we've discussed, we've been able to have constructive disagreements on, which has been fantastic.
Are you sure about that?
So additionally, Debate Club is hosting public discussions on Friday mornings in the high school atrium by the coffee table. So in the morning, we'll have students come up to get the coffee, and we'll invite them to have discussions with us about certain topics. So we'll have two tables for two different sides of the discussion of the political spectrum, and students manning those tables. And we'll have constructive conversations and really get to know what the students are thinking about certain issues, which is something you usually don't get to discuss unless you're in one of the few specific classes in Kansas that like offer discussion of those issues, like our contemporary politics class or maybe an economics class. But I think it's valuable for us to spread those issues and get kids thinking about that.
Do you have a particular issue in mind for tomorrow?
Well, last week we did freedom of speech related to hate speech and whether it should be like there should be limitations like legal punishment for hate speech. Tomorrow we're going to debate about abortion and the legalization of that. So the ultimate benefit of the political is growing the political literacy of students who choose to participate and encouraging them to be active and educated members of our democracy who can civilly discuss pertinent and modern issues. In October, there was the Haunted House hosted by the History Club for their fundraiser, which was an impressively large student-wide effort and collaboration to create something special for the community to enjoy. There's lots of intricate planning and story making involved in setting up the abandoned mine shaft theme haunted house. There was the Red Cross blood drive on November 3rd, hosted by the American Red Cross with the help of Kansas National Honor Society and some volunteers. Throughout the day, students and community members came to donate blood in the high school gymnasium, and plenty of students who were either first or second or third time donors came in and were very excited and proud to make a difference by donating blood. So that was also something special to the school.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's nice to have a positive report. It's always a good thing. Okay, the next thing on the agenda would be the superintendent's update.
Yeah, just some, went over the building project today a little bit, so we know we're moving forward on December 4th for that vote. Again, it'll be 2027 and 29 project, about $30 million. Most of it, again, has to do with renovations in our buildings because this building will be 27, 28 years old by the time we do the renovations, and the middle school, elementary school is 70-something years old. So a lot of renovations that need to be done. Rooftops.
Chris, you have another standing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rooftops and sidewalks, HVAC systems, things of that nature, make sure the school keeps running. So we have our solar project that's on our way right now near the bus garage, which will save us about 85% of our electric costs. Our electric costs are over $200,000 a year. So that'll allow us to kind of offset some costs that way. And we have a geothermal project, which will put heating and cooling into our middle school and elementary school throughout the entire school. And that'll start next spring. So some good things moving in a great direction. So about $45 million worth of projects. And we just did the $7 million one. So we're over $50 million worth of upgrades for our district, which is kind of nice. Merger process. The CFP developmental panel will meet on Monday to talk further about next steps and what we plan on doing with that in terms of time frame. Right now, it's estimated that we'll look to do a June vote for another straw vote, and then an end of July binding vote if that was to pass. In the meantime, from January through April, we want to put together focus teams which students, community members, faculty members can be on to talk about things like educational programming, right? What is it going to really look like? What's the configuration of the buildings really going to look like? We need recommendations from people on that. What student transition programs will look like, what staff transition programs will look like, financial information and background in terms of what would happen if we merged. There's also a regionalization shared services committee. If the merger doesn't go through, then we would look at regionalization efforts and shared services like business office, transportation, continue sports mergers, things of that nature. To make sure that we look out for the number one thing, which is giving our students the best opportunities. That's the whole idea. We don't want to be stuck in status quo. We want to continue to progress our programs for our students because the world is happening, moving at a fast pace. And we don't want our kids to be any less programmed or any less opportunities than a student from Shenendehowa or North Colony. So we don't want to miss that boat. So that's why we're looking at that. And remember, our job here is not to look at this next year. Our job is to look 5 to 10, 15 years down the road and what does this look like, right? And so that's why we're looking at the whole big picture. Some people say, well, if it gets voted down, well, we won't talk about it again. Say no. This is going to be an ongoing concern, something that will never go away because there's just too many factors built into this. You say, what do you mean factors? Financially. Right now, we got word the other day, Mark and I went to a meeting where state is looking at probably 0 or 1% increase for foundation aid, which is extra money that we get from the state. The federal is looking to cut. And just to let you guys know, we're a business. If your revenue or money coming in stays the same or goes less, that's not good. Because your expenses always do what? What happened to your expenses? I ask all you guys. Do gas prices, right? Do everything else goes up? We still have to pay for things. So it's dangerous when that happens because you start to affect programming for our students and we don't want to do that. So we've got to think down the road. So our plan is to January through April is to gather stakeholders to start talking about those items in those areas to really make sure that we get the proper information out to people and to really make sure that we educate people on making an informed decision when they do come out and vote. So that's our process moving forward with the merger. We'll come out with some great details after the meeting next week. We'll put a newsletter out in December where people can sign up for the focus teams, and then we'll solidify everything for next week. In your Board of Education, in the meeting, there's also a combined code of athletics where the coaches and
I just, to interject something, I would encourage all of you to consider getting involved in this process because I think student involvement will really be crucial to getting out to the community and explaining the whole idea of a merger, why it's important and why we'd like to see it go through. So I would encourage all of you to think about getting involved. I think it can make a huge difference.
And again, we have to look down the road 5 or 10 years because what will happen is the merger will happen for 2 more years. And then it'll take 2 or 3 years to get everything into place. So you're still talking 3 to 5 years down the road from this year to make sure everything goes as planned. And just to give you some quick numbers, in the year 2000 here, we averaged 93 students per class, 93 students. That's the size when the school was built. This year, we averaged 60 per class. We dropped 35% enrollment since 2000. So did Fort Plain, 35%. The smallest cohort, which means that, the earliest cohort, kindergarten through 3rd grade, is averaging 50 students per class. So we've gone from 93 to 50, and they've gone from 70-something to 42. So what's 50 and 42? 92, right? So if we merged, we would be the same size as Canajoharie was in 2000. So not that much larger, that type of, can you just go down to.
I'll just shut the mic.
So anyway, that's where we're heading in terms of what we're planning for this and kind of taking it from there. Built in your meeting is the athletic code of conduct that I met with the 2 athletic coordinators, gave them kind of an outline and said, hey, go start to put this together. We met again, looked at it. Superintendent from Fort Plain as well. We'll vet this out with the coaches again, and we plan on putting this into place for the spring. So pretty much what it does is it morphed everything. So make sure everyone's on the same page. When it comes to being late to school, when it comes to academics, when it comes to certain rules. So we built everything into one. So I think it's a great step moving forward.
I do have a question.
Yes,
On page 7, under chemical substances, in the parentheses in the title, it says alcohol, tobacco, vaping, drugs. But the verbiage says student athletes are prohibited from using, possessing, or selling tobacco products, alcohol, marijuana, or illegal drugs. My concern would be that there are tons of vaping products out there that don't contain tobacco.
Yeah.
Could I make an argument if I'm a kid or a parent and say, my kid got caught with a vape, but that's not tobacco, it's not alcohol, it wasn't a marijuana vape, and it's not an illegal drug. It just seems like.
Yeah.
that Since it's in the heading, maybe it should be in
They contain nicotine,
words
right?
underneath,
Mhm.
correct,
Correct.
Nicotine is illegal for kids under the age of 18.
yes,
for them to purchase, not possess.
yes. Look at that. Yeah.
So I just think it'd be more safe if it said vaping products, or something like that, in that sentence. Oh, and secondly, OESJ, we're being asked to approve them as part of a merged team, but they would follow their own athletic,
Correct.
not this.
Okay, I have a comment and a question. The comment is, there was a section on coaches' conduct. And I was very impressed that they actually had something in there that said the coach's motivation should be to coach the effort, not the outcome. And I think that's a really good approach, which is to help kids to have a wonderful athletic experience, regardless of whether we're winning or losing. And that's, I think, what should be part of the whole purpose of our athletic program. I mean, it's wonderful to win, don't get me wrong, but I just really like that approach. The question I had was, there's a thing called a PASS program in terms of academics. Is that something new or is that been around for?
We do a little bit of what they do in terms of, they just frame it differently. We're gonna use the PASS program. So pretty much what it would be is students who are failing a class have to show improvement as they move forward. So if a student is at, 60 and they go up to a 62 or 63, they continue to move, progress, they're able to stay on the team. So that motivates students to make sure that they continue to improve, but in the same token, what we find is when they take students off the teams, their grades go even worse, especially for kids who are struggling. So that's kind of the crux behind it.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Now I'll move on to approvals. And again, I just would like to explain to the students who are visiting the meeting. We do a thing called a consent agenda, and what that is where we agree to just have one vote on all of the subjects that we'll be discussing, rather than have a separate vote on each one. If there are any issues that come up that we want to pull an item out, we can, but basically this is just to help move the meeting along more efficiently. I just wanted to explain that to you so you'll understand what we're doing. Okay, so I would entertain a motion for a consent agenda for approvals. Second, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, and we'll start with the minutes. Any questions there? I have one, on the approvals, it says A through L, but there's also an M. So I think it should be A through M. Am I correct about that?
You're right.
Okay, so we can correct that. Okay, moving on to the treasurer's report. Any comments there? On bills, anything there? As usual, I ask questions that also come to shock to you. So we have 67738 INF Associates LLC, $38,000.
That's the electric charger up at the bus garage.
Oh, for the truck, for the electric bus. Then we have 67766 Curriculum Associates LLC, $10,800.
That's elementary curriculum.
I'm sorry?
It's elementary, it's curriculum that's either our iReady program or it's our math, that's what we use for our math curriculum.
And then 67784 Maine Motor Car for $42,000.
That's the new van that we got.
Then we have number 124 SEI Design Group, 2.5 thousand. I thought we had switched to King and King.
We're still using SEI for a couple of the old projects.
They're still involved in jail.
Okay. And I think that's about it. So thank you. Okay, moving right along. All right, for my usual questions. Budget transfers, anything there? Management response letter. Anything on that? Okay, accept funds and budget modification.
It's the grant that we got from Montgomery County for Sweethearts and Heroes. We just had to get the money and we had to pay it out, so we had to put it into the fund.
And I would like to just ask, what is Sweethearts and Heroes?
Sweethearts and Heroes is a, what do we call it, bully prevention program. We've had it here for, probably 2 or 3 times over the last 7 years. They spend time with our students, our faculty, and our staff, and it's restorative pieces. So they go all throughout the country, speak. So
Okay, thank you. Energy grant stipends,
this is just what we normally put out each year. The stipends with the grant that we got, because they help with the process. So this is part of the grant. Meaning that we go in and teach classes, so the curriculum has to be developed. We have director of facilities has to do some extra work because we're taking on an extra position in extra areas. And the director of finance has to do all the grant paperwork. And that one was only for the last year of the 3-year grant. That was built in, like I said, to the grant. So nothing coming out of general fund or.
okay. And then there's the agreement with Cobleskill Richmond, agreement with, I'm sorry, budget calendar, sorry.
That's the draft for the calendar for the budget this year. Nothing really changed, just a couple, dates because the year changed. We're on track. That's our calendar. We sent things out today to start the budget process already. 26, 27 budget.
Any questions on that? Okay, then we have a few agreements with Cobleskill Richmond, Montgomery County, which is the home run program, Montgomery County for the turnabout program with the middle school, and the use of, okay, we'll go with those. Any questions on either of those? Jen isn't here to say that it's,
All the skills of placement of a
yeah.
student.
I figured, okay.
And we know the home run turnabout program.
Right. Okay, and then,
That's BOCES aidable now, which is kind of nice.
yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
The Montgomery County use of facilities.
You come here and do training for the sheriffs, police, and they use here.
Surplus,
Just some things from the fitness center that are just old and kind of beat up.
and approve combined sports programs, which would be baseball and softball with Fort Plain. And all levels of boys and girls track with Fort Plain, and also Oppenheimer and Freda, St. Johnsville School District for spring 2026.
And OESJ was part of Fort Plain the last couple of years, so they're going to come up for this year.
And this is all to have adequate numbers to participate, because each of the schools separately are having declining participation. So
We haven't run JV baseball in the past couple of years. Softball, modified numbers should be okay, but we'll address those as they go. You can always pull a merger back, you just can't pull it forward if you don't get it approved.
And finally, there's a request for an eighth grade student to enter the APP process for varsity wrestling. Any questions on that? Recommended by the superintendent.
That's pretty common. in creators, so.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to personnel, can we do a consent agenda on that as well? I would entertain a motion for consent agenda on
Motion.
personnel.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, point clerk of special vote, this was for the December fourth, I would assume. And also chief inspector would be for the same. And then inspector would also be for that vote. Resignation of a custodian,
A part-time custodian had a full chat with the county, so she moved on to that. But we had one ready to go,
that would be number G.
correct.
Okay. And then, winter coaches, we have, if it'll come up, I can read them.
Draft two. Finish him up.
Someone else have? Yeah,
Ethan Muller, modified basketball girls, and Carolyn Adams, varsity girls basketball.
okay, thank
Oh,
you.
there it comes.
Oh, now mine came to it. 7 years. Okay, any questions on those? All right, I would entertain a motion for the consent on the personnel.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. There's no old business, new business, discussion of presentation topics.
Just put it out there to start thinking about them. Next month, we can discuss them. That makes sense? I'll do them in March, April, May, like we've done.
And then the next point is a report on the NISBA convention that was held in New York, that both Nick and I attended. And what I'd like to do is just give, first of all, to say that it was there were over 1,000 attendees, most of whom were school board members from around the state, which is a wonderful opportunity to kind of get to interact with them and discuss, what we're doing. And I have to tell you that I was really proud that when I was talking about some of the things that we're doing, people were taking notes. Because I think we're really, at the head of the, at the head of the curve. And it's like, when we were discussing some attendance issues and struggling students, and I talked about the home run program, for example. People had never heard of such a thing. And it was really, it was just really very encouraging to see that, we're really making some real progress in the education of our students, and just really very satisfying. So the first, and I'm just going to go quickly through some of the things I went to, and it started off with the assembly for all the attendees. It's a huge ballroom, and it was filled. I mean, there was a lot of people there.
1,400 people.
And the first one was why school boards matter. And, what he was talking about was, that they're important for the success of the schools. And, he recommended that you stop initiative fatigue, where you have too many things on your list to do. And he said, just try to keep it down to 5 or 6. He talked about addressing the climate of the district, if there's any problems with that, and, where there's some, disagreements or low morale. He talked about engaging with the community actively to keep them informed, and I think that the district does a good job of doing that. I think, one of the things that we might talk about is how the board can get involved in that more directly. The issue of accountability, and he said that we shouldn't have short-termism. So you should take a long view. So it was an interesting discussion. And the first session I went to was the rural school issues. And one of the things that blew my mind was apparently, on average, other states in the country, not New York, the state provides approximately 2/3 of the school budget, each of the schools. versus New York, it's 1/3. And the rest has to be made up by local taxes. And I think that's really a very sad thing to hear, because it puts a lot more strain on local taxpayers and on, property taxes and so forth. So that was a,
I have a question about that. So what if their budget's lower than our budget? So if they're not, if you're paying 2/3 of a lower number, it might actually even out. You know what I mean? Because some of the states aren't doing what we're doing,
yeah,
So-
and that's certainly a cool
It's
question, but
important,
this is the average nationally. So it includes a lot of states that are doing a good job educationally, so it's, it's just disturbing that we're an outlier on that question. They also, talked about, the significance of the portrait of a graduate as a way to help students in rural schools to be prepared for the working world and the world that they'll be moving out into. And basically, they talked about the common denominators in most school districts, which is declining enrollment, financial stress, and difficulty finding staffing, which is a pretty much statewide rural problem. We have been very fortunate in that we've been able to fill just about all our positions, which is a real blessing. And it sets us apart in a lot of ways from a lot of the other school districts.
So 54,000 unfilled positions this year. Schools across the country. 54,000 uncertified positions.
Next one I went
Just
to,
one quick thing too, down in New York City, they're actually, down in some of the states, the guest speaker came in this weekend, they're taking students with GEDs to fill positions and then putting down the lower levels because they can do less harm down. That's really disturbing. So,
okay, I also went to an athletics presentation because I got closed out of what I wanted to go to. But it turned out to be really interesting. It was that the head of the New York State Public School Athletic Association. And what he talked about is that, they are really exploring issues around transgender student participation in athletics. And it's the position that they're also very strongly engaged with DEI issues in terms of athletics. And they're not giving that up in spite of some of the pressures that are coming from Washington on these questions. And so that was really, very surprising and encouraging thing to see. And they also are fostering, with DEI, fostering inclusive athletic environments. The last one I went to that day was the NISBA Advocacy Liaison meeting. And I was thinking that we were going to be talking about lobbying and talking to our legislators. But I walked in there and they had a buffet and a free open bar. I said, this is my kind of meeting. So that was one of the best meetings I've been to. Okay, so now we're going, that was all on Thursday. Then on Friday, we had an assembly and again, of all the attendees, and the topic was achieving dignity for all, dignity versus contempt. And it was very interesting. It was a group that has a thing called a dignity index. And I'm just going to read through it really quickly. It's kind of interesting. It starts from 1, which is the least dignity, up to 8, which is the most dignified. So number 1, they describe it. They're not even human. It's our moral duty to destroy them before they destroy us. Number 2, those people are evil and they're going to ruin everything if we let them. It's us or them. Number 3, we're the good people and they're the bad people. It's us versus them. Number 4, we're better than those people. They don't really belong. They're not one of us. I hope, and this is what you're trying to avoid in the debate club, I think. Number 5, the other side has a right to be here and a right to be heard. They belong here too. Number 6, we always talk to the other side, searching for the values and interests we share. Number 7, we fully engage with the other side, discussing even values and interests we don't share, open to admitting mistakes or changing our minds. And then number 8, each one of us is born with inherent worth, so we treat everyone with dignity, no matter what. And obviously that is the best. And what was really interesting, he talked about how they are using this. And then in addition to that, I went to a workshop on the same issue. And what was really kind of challenging or interesting is the person who was speaking, it's a room full of people, and they said, okay, this side, here's a question I want you to deal with. And I want you to come up with a number 3 solution. And you guys over here, that same issue, I want you to come up with a number 5 solution. And over here, I want you number 8 solution. And they kept coming up with different problems and different issues. And it was really interesting to see people trying to figure out different ways to interact on that level. And what they said, and what was interesting is they said their aim is to have students, faculty, and staff in schools to function on 5 or above, and as a way to interact with each other and to show dignity. And that was the thing that they want to introduce. And it's a nationwide effort that they're implementing. And so I just thought it was quite interesting and engaging.
It really does go with the debate, the debate team.
Okay, so then there was then I went to a session on the reducing youth suicide, an upstream prevention. And what they talked about there is that the traditional way of dealing with preventing suicide is when you get kids who are in crisis, that you try to give them counseling and help them to be better. And what this talked about was to not just look for people and kids, students in crisis, but to try to have all students see positivity and have a positive outlook. And what they said is the power of upstream peer-initiated public health approaches to prevent leading causes of death by strengthening leading causes of life. And so they basically are trying to have people think more positively about life in the world so that you don't have to get into the area of crisis. So it was an interesting research, interesting presentation. Then there was one on public PBL, project-based learning. And what was interesting about that is that they talked about engaging with the community, and they started by recruiting some students from 3 different districts, and they went to Utah on a rafting and camping expedition. Some of them had never even been in a plane, but they certainly had never been rafting and camping in Utah. And the kids, they had 5 participants at this conference, and they talked about how it really forced them and these are all kids that didn't know each other necessarily. So it forced them to really struggle to communicate, to understand, to struggle to do things they'd never done before. And it really helped them to come back and engage in the community and make problem-based learning something that was definitely related to the community and engaging with the community. And it was just a kind of a fascinating subject. And then after that, there was another one on conflict resolution, which Nick can talk about because he and I were the presenters for that one.
Yeah, I think Mark and I did a really nice job presenting, conflict between board, community, that type of stuff, how to handle conflict when board meetings occur or community issues arise. And I thought it was extremely interactive. People were talking, you can always tell that people responses and questions. And probably about 10 or 12 people at the end came up, or the next day or so came up and said, wow, that was a really great presentation, and sought us out to say it. And one board member from Amsterdam said it was the best presentation she's ever been to. I think overall, we set out what we wanted to do is give some people something to talk about, learn a little bit, and think about things differently. And I think we accomplished that with our presentation.
Okay, and then finally, the, Saturday, the closing presentation they had was called, Asserting Kindness 101. And it was a presentation by Steve Hartman, who's a CBS News reporter. And he's been there for years, and he goes around the country trying to meet people and just to find kindness and find people that are trying to make the world a better place. And it was just a very, very moving presentation. He had his kids come up on the stage and talk about things. And there was a doctor who was in his 70s and never takes any time off. And if you go to see him and you can't pay for it, that's okay. And he was there. So he came up to the stage and was interviewed and talked. And it was just a wonderful way to end the conference because he just went home feeling wonderful.
And let you know that doctor got cancer. Insurance didn't cover it. The community that he served for free raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to give to him. And he didn't need that much money, so he threw it back into his practice to pay for more people. So very inspiring.
And then the final thing I wanted to just share with you is it was a wonderful student art exhibition. And the stuff that they did, Canjo, you guys do wonderful art, and I loved going down the hall and looking at it all the time. But this was also really, really impressive. And I'll just pass this around, and to you as well, if you want to take a picture, there's a QR code here, and you can see all the pictures that the students, did if you want to. And I think I'll pass it to the students first, because you'll be here a little longer. If any of you want to take a picture of it, feel free to do so. If you don't, that's fine too. Just take a picture with your phone, and then you can see all the student art if you want to do that. And then, I think that's the end of, I'm sorry to run on so long, but I just wanted to give you a sense of what the conference, some parts of the conference were about. And I would entertain a motion to move into exec in a few minutes after the students get a chance to copy the CR code. Second. All in favor? Thank you. So you don't have to copy the QR code if you don't want to be going, but you can copy it.
Oh, yeah, sure, yep.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.